Hi everyone, and welcome to episode 40 of the Catherine Crochets podcast. Hello, my name's Catherine. I'm a crochet designer from South London in the UK, and this is my podcast where I like to chat about all the recent crochet things that I've been up to. I've got quite a lot of news to tell you this time. There is some really big news which you might already have heard if you're on my email list or follow me elsewhere. So I'm really excited to share that with you. And then I've got a few other bits and pieces to show you. I went to the Unravel Yarn Festival with a friend earlier in September. It's 1st of October today. We had a really lovely day, took part in a workshop and bought a few bits. So I'll share those with you later as well. I've got an update on my Astrid Shawl, which is really close to being finished now. And I shared that in my last podcast if you caught that one. And then finally, I've started swatching for a new beanie design. So I'll show that to you in a bit as well. So first of all, the really big news. So you might already know about this if you've been following me elsewhere, but about 2 weeks ago today, this year's Serdar Christmas blanket crochet along was released, and I was absolutely over the moon to be the designer behind this blanket. Now, I don't actually have the blanket here to show you, unfortunately. That is with Serdar. Although I am going to be making another one for myself during the crochet along. So I'm going to put up some pictures on the screen to show you what it looks like if you haven't seen it, and so you can tell what I'm talking about while I'm chatting about it. I can show you a few little bits of merchandise. So if you do decide to buy the yarn kit, well, if you order it online from Serdar, I'll pop the link for that below. It comes in a lovely brown box. If you buy it from a yarn shop, it comes in a Santa's Workshop paper bag, which is really handy for keeping your yarn in, obviously, because it comes with the yarn in it. The blanket is made with 15 balls of Serdar's Hayfield Bonus DK yarn. I've just got two here to show you. These are two of the colours that are in the blanket. There's lemongrass and this one is emerald. So this is a DK 100% acrylic yarn. It's really soft, great for crocheting big projects like blankets with. You can pop it in the washing machine. So yeah, it's a really affordable yarn for making your blanket, and brilliant range of colours. And then you also get in the official yarn kit, if you get it, you get this lovely label to sew onto your blanket when it's done, saying Serdar Christmas 2025 Santa's Workshop Crochet Along. I think I'm doing this all in the wrong order, aren't I? I should have said the name of the blanket is the Santa's Workshop blanket. I'll tell you a bit more about the blanket in a minute. It would have been more sensible to start with that, wouldn't it? But I'm going with the yarn kit now, so let's just keep going with that. And you also get this tree decoration, Santa's Workshop Christmas 2025 tree decoration to hang on the tree. And on the back it says Santa's Workshop special delivery for. So if you're gifting the blanket or anything else really, you can put in their name and then you can tick who has been either naughty or nice. So let's talk a bit more about the blanket, because that's the main interest, isn't it? So the big central panel of the blanket is a train, a traditional toy train, and it's towing along, snaking along on the track, and it's carrying in each carriage of different toys, and then in the final carriages there's a row of wrapped up presents. And then to the left of the train panel we have Santa's nice list, and above that there's a Father Christmas hat and a stocking underneath. So that's like the main central part of the blanket, and then around it we've got some festive decoration. So down the sides we've got one of my favourite bits of the blanket. We've got these spiked granny stitch panels, which to me are kind of reminiscent of Christmas jumpers, so that the elves in the workshop might be wearing. And then above and below we've got some loop stitch to make some kind of festive foliage that might be strung up around the workshop with little red berries and yellow bells hidden in it. And then there's some red and white sort of candy cane style stripes as well. And then there's a final border all around the edge, and 4 corner sections. 2 of them are elf hats and 2 of them are some Christmas bells. So it's super festive, loads of fun stitches and techniques in it, and I really hope that lots of you will be joining in. All the details that are on my website and on Serdar's website, so I'll pop a link for all of that below. The pattern is completely free. It starts, the crochet along starts next week on Wednesday the 8th of October, and it runs for 6 weeks. So the pattern's split up into 6 parts and you get a new part of the pattern each week. So if you sign up on the Serdar website, you'll get a link to the pattern each week sent to you when it's released. You also get, so for each week there are video tutorials showing you exactly step by step how to do all of the stitches and techniques in that week. So you'll get a link to that as well each week, along with the link to the pattern when you sign up. You can buy the official yarn kit that I just was talking about. You can buy that from Serdar, or you can buy it from other Serdar stockists that you might have near you. If you're in the US, all the yarn is already in Serdar's US warehouse. So even if you order from Serdar, you don't have to worry about tariffs or anything because all the yarn is already in the US. What else? There's also a Serdar Facebook group for all of their crochet alongs. So if you join that, you can get involved in the whole Cal community, share your progress, show everyone how you're getting on with the blanket, ask for any tips or advice. Each week during the Cal, I'm going to be releasing my kind of top tips for that week, just little things that to be aware of or to remember or think about while you're making that week's section of the pattern that might just help you along. So it's somewhere between the written pattern, which is complete as it stands, and the video tutorials, which are really detailed and show you exactly how to do every stitch and technique if they're new to you. So the top tips are sort of somewhere in between, just something to remember. So they'll be released on my website each week with each part of the pattern as the pattern's released. If you want to sign up to my email list, then you'll get emailed a link to those top tips each week as well. So there'll be a link for that below, lots of links below. Another thing that we're doing this Cal is a bingo grid. So as I mentioned, there's lots of different fun new stitches and techniques in the blanket. So you can design a bingo grid with, I think it's got 16 of them in it. It's square. Yeah, it's not 25, it's 16, 4x4. And you can print it out, tick off or colour in each stitch or technique as you meet it during the Cal. So it's just something fun to do as you're making your blanket. Yeah, so I really hope lots of you are excited by that. And if you want to sign up and join in, as I said before, all of the links are below. So that was my super exciting news. Gonna have a sip of tea now after all that. And the rest might be a bit more low-key and relaxing. So I think I'll show you my Astrid Shawl next. This is a project that I started in July and I shared it in the last episode as well. And this is a design by Lilla Crochet. And it is, you can make it as a cowl or as a shawl or scarf. I've gone for the shawl. I can't remember whether she calls it a shawl or a scarf. Sometimes there's not much difference, is there? So it's really close to being finished now. So it started at this end and it got wider and wider. Quite a short central bit that where there weren't any increases or decreases, then decrease, 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 And look, I am so close to finishing it off now, just a tiny bit more on the corner, and then there's around, I think it's UK double crochet. It's quite a simple edging, but just to sort of neaten up all the edgings, and then it will be done. I've got this much yarn left, so I'm hoping, I think it should be, we shall see. There might be a bit of a yarn chicken game going on, but I'm hoping it's enough to finish off this end and then go all the way around the edge, fingers crossed. If not, I've got another option that I could use to do the edging. Or, I mean, it looks, I think the edging will finish it off really neatly and make it look smart, but it doesn't look terrible at all like that, does it? So worst comes to the worst, if I don't have enough of this green yarn and the other colour just doesn't look right, I could just leave it like this. And then it's, let me see, it's quite big, so I'll just be probably wearing it wrapped around me like that. This is, I used 2 100-gram skeins, so that's just where I'll obviously weave that in, but I was thinking I'd do the edging bit first, have something to weave it into. And yeah, it's a sock yarn, so it's 85% merino and 15% nylon, so it's warm and soft and smooth. And I'm looking forward to wearing this when it gets a bit chillier. Oh yeah, the yarn is from Lay Family Yarn, and it's called, this colour, I've got the yarn going all the way around me now. This colour is called the Wonderland Walk colourway, and the colourway was created by Ali from Little Drops of Wonderful a year or two ago now, I think. Yeah, and like I said, I used 2 100-gram skeins of it, which hopefully is the perfect amount to make the shawl. The shawl, I think I mentioned this before, but just in case you didn't see it, it's got a really lovely texture to the stitches. It's lots of short rows, so you don't go all the way across back and forth in one go. It's getting short now anyway, so it's a bit hard to show you, but you go along a few stitches, then back a little bit, then along a bit more, and then back a bit, so you sort of zigzag all the way across, and then the same coming back again to create this kind of textured zigzaggy pattern, and it gives it quite a bit of stretch as well. The texture as well comes from working in the back loop only, as well as this short row method. So that is so close to being finished now, and yeah, I think it'll definitely be finished in the next day or so. I was hoping to finish it before I filmed this podcast, but I didn't quite, and I thought, well, I'll show it to you now anyway as it is. I won't delay filming the podcast anymore, just to finish that off. The other thing actually, which I nearly forgot to tell you, is, so last time I showed you my Superstars blanket, which was finished apart from I hadn't woven in the ends, and I just sort of blitzed it over 2 or 3 evenings and I hadn't woven in any ends at all. But yeah, I just went for it over 2 or 3 evenings and got them all sewn in. So this is all completely finished now, and it is being used quite a bit actually in the evenings, because it's got a bit chillier, and our heating hasn't kicked in yet really, or it's just starting to occasionally in the evenings, but by that time it's often a bit lower, so it's quite nice. People have been putting it on their laps and enjoying it to keep warm in the evenings recently. So those are my 2 projects to tell you about. And next up, I'll tell you a bit about my visit to the Unravel Yarn Festival in Farnham a couple of weeks ago. So this was with my friend, I went there with my friend Carmen from Off the Hook Creative. I'll pop a link to her YouTube and Instagram below. And we met actually online through Instagram. I think she might have been through pattern testing connections. I can't remember, but we connected through Instagram and then realised that we live relatively close to each other. So we've met up a few times now. I think we've seen each other 3 times over the last year or so. The first couple of times we met up in a cafe for just coffee and cake and crochet, and that was lovely. And then this last time we decided to meet at the Unravel Yarn Festival because it's quite accessible to both of us. I'd been a couple of times before, but Carmen hadn't. So it was really nice to go with someone and yeah, have a look around and see everything at the festival. I took some videos and photos of bits and pieces at the festival while I was there, so I'll pop all that at the end of this podcast if you just want to have a nosy round and sort of see what the festival was like, what kind of yarn the vendors were selling and that sort of thing. But yeah, we had a really lovely day. It wasn't too busy actually. I've got a paper bag, it's a bit crunkly. I'll pop that down so I don't crinkle while I'm talking. Yeah, I've been to Unravel a couple of times before, and it actually runs twice a year. So they have one which is in February, which is Unravel, and then they have one in September which is called Unravel Autumn. And the one I'd been to before had been in February, which I think runs for 3 days, whereas the autumn one runs for 2. And I think it felt busier both times when I went previously. And I think in terms of vendors, there was probably about the same number, but in terms of visitors, there seemed to be more. Whereas the one in September, it was definitely had a nice, like, bustly feeling, but it wasn't packed. Like, you could easily get up to the stands and see what they were selling. Occasionally, you might have had to wait, but it wasn't too busy that there was lots of jostling and waiting and crowds. So it was just a really nice level of busyness. So yeah, we had a good look round everything. I took some photos of things I was interested in, so then I could go back and buy them later, like have a think, decide what I wanted and go back and buy the things I wanted. So we did that in the morning, stopped and had some lunch, really nice sausage roll, and then went back and bought the things we were interested in. So I'll show you what I bought first, because then that sticks with the order of the day. So one thing I bought was a new Notions pouch, which I haven't actually yet put my hooks and bits in. This is from the Little Grey Girl. And I wanted a new one because I just use an old pencil case with a pretty sort of childish, old, nothing special design on it. So I treated myself to a new pouch for my hooks and scissors and darning needle and whatever. And then I also bought a stitch marker, just one, this cute little bird one from, can't remember the name of the seller for this. So if I, that easy to see, if I remember it, I'll pop a link below. But yeah, I really like little birds and love that colour. So yeah, looking forward to using that. I haven't really used those things yet because I wanted to, was meaning to talk about them, but after I finished filming this, I'll fill up my pouch and put my stitch marker in there too, ready to use. And then the other thing I bought was some yarn also from the Little Grey Girl. So I bought one skein of this dark charcoaly grey called Gunster, and then this pack, or gradient pack, sort of cerise pinks and maroons. And I wasn't really planning on buying any yarn at the festival. I didn't have specific plans to buy any because I have a fair amount of nice hand-dyed yarn in my stash, and so I didn't necessarily want to add too much more to it. But while we're walking around, I saw, I think it was knitted, but I saw a Mobius cowl, one of those cowls with the twist in it, that's a sort that is something I've always wanted to make. And then I saw this yarn, not necessarily knitted, but just the idea of a cowl with a twist. And then I saw this yarn, well, I saw this, there was lots of yarns on the stand, and I thought, actually, you know what, I could buy the yarn, and I have an idea in my head of how I would crochet one. with a bit of colour work in it and make it myself. So it took quite a while trying to decide. My friend Carmen helped, can't remember her name, but the lady who runs the Little Grey Girl, she helped as well, and we came up and thought this combination would work really well. So it's going to be mainly dark grey, and then it's going to have colour stripes or sections of colour work in these different shades of pink or maroon. It's probably going to be a little while before I start working on this, but hopefully it might be done maybe January time, we'll see, something like that. But yeah, quite excited to get going on that. So that was all my purchases, and then once we'd finished that, we went off. We'd signed up for a workshop in, it was either called lace crochet or thread crochet, I can't remember which now, but the workshop was to do some lace or thread crochet to make a little kind of like a doily style motif, and then sew it onto a lavender pouch. And it was run by, she was called MERRIAM, I can't remember her surname now, but her website is MEZZACRAFT, and she runs lots of workshops by the looks of it, and courses and things. So I'll pop a link to that below in the kind of North Surrey, Farnham area. So if you're local to there, you might want to check her out, because it was a really good workshop. She was really fun and interesting and clear. So yeah, I'd definitely recommend doing one of her workshops. So this was the pouch that I made at the workshop. So MERRIAM had already made the pouch bit with the ribbon. This was all made, it's filled with lavender, so it smells nice. So that was all completely made and sewn up. And then in the workshop we made this motif and just sewed it onto the pouch. And she told us lots of interesting things about thread crochet, because it's not, although a lot of it is the same as regular crochet, that this is the first time I'd ever done it, and the smallest, I'd never used yarn so fine before, although she said this was at like the very thickest thread that counts as thread crochet, and I can't remember the size of the hook now, but I had to buy a new hook to have one small enough for the workshop, because my range of hooks didn't go down quite that small. Yeah, she told us it's, although in some ways the stitches are the same, there's different things you have to think about because you're working with a finer thread when you're working with thread crochet, which was really interesting. I think she said as well that we're doing this sort of crochet, it's really important to get your stitches looking like spot on and really nice, because that's what it's all about. And so she said even if you don't usually do this sort of crochet, it can be really useful and beneficial to give it a go, because it can really help you kind of hone your technique and your skills, and get them really, really good, so that when you're working with thicker yarns again, you've sort of upped your level of crochet, which I thought was, yeah, was quite interesting. She also said that the thread that we use to make it with is specifically crochet thread. It's not just thread of a certain thickness, which means that it's twisted in the strands that make up the thread are twisted in the opposite direction to normal or knitting yarn, for example. And I had heard this before, that because of the way you hold and manipulate the yarn with crochet, that the way that most yarn is twisted, it's either called an S twist or a Z twist, and it just basically means whether the strands are twisted clockwise or anti-clockwise, although I forget which is which now. But yeah, the conventional way that yarn is twisted means that as you crochet, you can slightly untwist the yarn, and it can result in the fibres splitting a bit. So I had heard this before. I do know, I have heard of a few, I can't remember which they are off the top of my head, but I have heard of a few brands selling yarns that have got the opposite twist, that say that they're especially good for crochet. But I've not worked with thread crochet before, And actually thread crochet yarn, I've sort of been doing this for years, and all the thread that you use for thread crochet, I think this was a DMC one, is twisted the right way for crochet. I think it's a Z, but it might be S, I can't remember, but whichever it is, it's the right one. So yeah, she just told us lots of interesting things like that, and made me realise that there's a whole lot more to this kind of crochet rather than just using a smaller hook and thinner yarn. So that's the one made in the workshop, and then she gave us the fabric and ribbon and lavender to make another one, and another pattern to make another little motif to go on it. So in the workshop I hadn't quite finished this motif. This is the other motif. Oh, I should say as well that because I was there with a friend, we all had kind of similar colours and fabric, but in your kit you got the same. But we decided, so that we could have a variety, we decided to swap. So I swapped. So this, in my kit, I had this gorgeous sort of cinnamony colour and kind of off-white fabric with a pink ribbon, which was also then what I had to make my second one. But because I swapped with my friend, I got this lovely pink fabric and a blue ribbon, and then sort of ivory coloured thread to make the thing with. So I made the thing in the workshop, and then when I got home, I've sewn up, the fabric was already cut, I've sewn up two sides of it. I now need to fill it with lavender, pop in the, then you sew up the final two sides, and then poke the, no you don't, you poke the ribbon in first into one of these corners, fill it up with lavender, and then sew up the final side, and then I can sew this onto the fabric like the first one. So it's probably not a massive job, but it's just been sitting around waiting for me to finish it off. One thing that has happened though, so I made most of this motif in the workshop sitting at a table, I think up to, apart from the final round or two, and then I did the final round at home, and I think my tension got tighter. So my tension was relatively loose, so that some people made the exact same pattern with same size hook and same thickness thread, and their flower was quite a bit smaller, like 10%, 15% smaller than mine. And she did say to try and keep your tension as tight as possible. So when I got home, I was obviously, I don't know if I was just sitting different, more mindful of it, but I managed to get it quite tight, but I think it's perhaps a little bit too tight and it's pulling in. So I'm wondering, I think I might just be able to sew it on and pull out all the outer bits as I sew it on. I think it'll probably be fine. Or I might give it a little block first, see how it opens out. I did actually sew in the end, but probably what I should have done is perhaps redid that final round, because they're supposed to kind of go out a bit. I think they will, won't they, as I sew it on. But I feel like that final round is just a little bit tighter. So I think I'll probably just go for it and sew it on. What would you do? Would you just go for it? Anyway, so that was the lace crochet workshop that we went to at Unravel. So yeah, just need to finish that off now. And the very last thing I have to show you is a bit of swatching that I've been doing for a new design. Last week I showed you the yarn that I've got for this new design, which is Serdar's Loveful Tweed, 100% recycled tweed blend, something like that. I don't have it right here now, so I've got a picture, I'll pop up a picture of it. And so I'm planning on designing, or I am designing, a new beanie with that yarn. It's going to have a colourwork pattern on it. So I've been swatching up with different yarn, not with the yarn I'm going to use because I wanted to save that and not use it all up swatching. So I've been swatching some different colourwork patterns with it, with different stitches. So up to there, I think. Yeah, up to there. So all of this bottom bit is It's looking better on screen, to be honest, than it does in real life. I shouldn't tell you that, should I? Yeah, all of that section is tapestry crochet with the extended double crochet stitch in UK terms, or extended single in US. And then this top row here, this last row that I've done, is it uses the waistcoat stitch, which is also a central double crochet stitch, or central single in US terms, and it gives the stitches, if I hold it closer you can see it gives the stitches more of a knit look. Can you see all the little V's? So I think I'm going to go for this stitch for my pattern on the hat, although I haven't yet decided which motif to go for. These were some sort of snowflakey patterns, but I think they're just not well enough to find. I quite like, my initial idea was to go for trees. As you can see, I've got quite a few trees, so I'm thinking I might go, I do like this tree pattern, so I'm thinking I'm going to go with trees and a bit of other general pattern around the hat, but we will see. But so that will hopefully be coming along soon, shall we say. Yeah, that's it for this time. So as I said, hopefully I'll meet and get to know lots of you in the Santa's Workshop crochet along, and thank you very much for watching. If you're joining in with the crochet along, feel free to leave a comment and say hi. I'd love to get to know you. If you're not, that's absolutely fine, obviously, and it'll be lovely to hear from you as well. Let me know what you're working on, where you're watching from, or just leave an emoji, a Christmas tree emoji or something like that. It'd be lovely to hear from you. So thank you very much for watching. Have a lovely few weeks, or however long it is until our next podcast, and I will see you all again soon. Bye bye.